This is the Ball Talk Podcast, presented by Nachos and Analysis.
What's going on, Tiger fans? Today is Thursday, June 1st, and this is the 17th episode of the Ball Talk Podcast, presented by Nachos and Analysis. I'm your host, Drew Archer, and let's talk some ball. Well, it was another jam-packed weekend for Clemson baseball and Clemson softball. We're going to get into both of them today. The baseball team having a little bit better fortune than the softball team. The softball team wrapped up their season in the form of 2 losses against the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. And that second game was in heartbreaking fashion. We'll break that game down here in a little bit. For the second consecutive season, the Tigers' season ends at a super regional in the state of Oklahoma. When you look at the 2 teams that the Tigers have dropped or who have fallen to the last 2 seasons in Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and the Women's College World Series being played in Oklahoma City, you got a hump to get over, and it seems like that hump, two humps right now that the Tigers can't get over, is Florida State in the Atlantic Coast Conference and the entire state of Oklahoma. So a little bit of unfortunate circumstances there, but it's not all bad. Valerie Cagle, I believe Tuesday night, was named the 2023 USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year. I mean, at this point, we had to see it coming. Not her best performance in the Super Regional, but she's put up numbers all season long. She's won games for this team all season long, and you had to have known that was coming. So congratulations to Valerie Cagle. This program has been around for 3 full seasons. You already have a National Player of the Year under your belt. Clemson football has had a lot of great players come through that program. They don't have a Heisman. But in 3 full seasons with the softball program, Valerie Cagle, National Player of the Year. So shout out to her. She's had an excellent career. I expect her to come back next year. I was texting with some folks this weekend when watching the Super Regional. I'm not ready for a Clemson softball team that does not feature Valerie Cagle. This team is nowhere near as good as it has been if it's not for her. Now, there's a lot of talented girls on this team, and that's not to diminish them, but this is a generational player. You saw what generational players could do for a football team when guys like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence came to play for Coach Sweeney. So fans, we got to keep our expectations going forward in check. You're not going to have a Valerie Cagle on your team every single year. This team has been blessed to have her in the infancy of this program, and she's done a lot in that short period of time. So congrats again, Valerie Cagle. We knew it was coming, and super excited for her, super excited for this team. Here in a few minutes, we'll get into a little bit of the softball and that sort of stuff. But let's talk about the champions, another Clemson championship. The baseball team wins the ACC Tournament for the first time since 2016. That makes Coach Bakich the 3rd consecutive Clemson baseball coach to win the ACC Tournament in his first year as head coach. And I saw a tweet from Tim Beret this week, or shortly after the game on Sunday, that it seems that Coach Wilhelm and I'm forgetting the coach prior to, won the ACC as well, just not the tournament. So Bakich in year 1, Lee in year 1, Leggett in year 1, all winning the ACC tournament. Caden Grice was named the ACC Tournament MVP. That shouldn't be a surprise to any of our listeners. And then the All ACC Tournament team A handful of guys getting some honors here. Riley Bertram, who had a big season or a big series in the tournament there. Cooper Ingle, Cam Canarella, and of course, again, Caden Grice getting the utility DH designation there for the all-tournament team. So, as we said, another Clemson championship. But this team is not done. They have a lot of goals still ahead of them. They earned the number 4 national seed in the tournament that begins this week that we're going to preview here shortly. They are hosting their first regional since 2018. This is the 17th time, that Clemson has hosted a regional since 1980. Overall, it's their 45th appearance in the NCAA tournament, which is the 5th most in NCAA history. This team has brought a lot of those Clemson fans that maybe have fallen off, maybe have been frustrated with how things have been going the last couple of years. You're starting to see some excitement out of these fans, and it's got a feel to it like these Clemson baseball teams of old. So it was a big weekend for Clemson baseball. And they got yet another big weekend coming up. So before we get into the baseball regionals, let's review softball. All right, Clemson softball, as we said, they travel out to Norman, Oklahoma for the Norman Super Regional. Again, it's the second year in a row traveling out to Oklahoma for the Super Regionals. They fell to Oklahoma State last year in 2 games. And unfortunately, they dropped this Super Regional 2-0 at the hands of the Sooners as well. So it was, don't let the way that the Tigers wrapped up this season tarnish what they were able to accomplish this year. Think about a softball program in its infancy. I'm not familiar with the national landscape outside of Clemson, so I don't really know, but I'd imagine there's teams that are in similar situations to Clemson. They've got a couple years under their belt, but they're not putting up the numbers that Clemson is putting up. So fans got to appreciate what you got going on here at McWhorter Stadium and with Coach Rittman and this team of super talented ladies. And capped off with Valerie Cagle, like we mentioned. So you hate to see this team lose the way they did. We'll get into game 2 in a minute, but game 1, the Tigers fall 2-9. The key in this game, the common factor that I kind of settled on here was stranded runs. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but there were a lot of stranded runs in this game, leaving runs out there on the bases that could help contribute here. Jacobson in game 1 drove in a 2-run RBI in the 5th to cut Oklahoma's 4-0 lead in half. I would like to also take credit for that. Clemson was not doing great until I got in the car to head home from work, and when you know it, big inning, score 2 runs, load the bases up, and those bases did get left loaded in that inning. But the bottom half of the 5th, the Sooners responded with 5 runs, including a grand slam to seal the victory in game 1. That environment was electric. It was one that you would have loved to see Clemson go in there and spoil their record-breaking season that they had going there. And they had opportunities to. But this Oklahoma team was a confident bunch. At times, maybe a little too confident. There was a lot of people kind of upset with the way that the Oklahoma Sooners were kind of handling themselves. Did I enjoy it? No, not really. But my philosophy has been, if you don't like what the other team's doing and how they're celebrating, it's up to you to stop it. This Clemson team struggled to stop them all weekend long. for a lot of the two games there, this Oklahoma team was doing anything that it wanted. And when they needed a clutch hit, they got a clutch hit. That's why they only lost one game this entire season. But Clemson put up more points than anybody on this team in game 2. So the Tigers did push them, and unfortunately it happened in a heartbreaking way. A 3-run homer by Maddie Moore pulled the Tigers within 1 in the 4th. And then Clemson scored 4 more runs to make it 7-4. Before ultimately Cagle, who's had such a great season, not the spot she wanted to be in here with the season on the line, but she gave up a 3-run homer with literally 1 strike left. The Tigers were 1 strike away from stealing a game from Oklahoma. That would have ended their winning streak, which would have left them tie with another team. I can't remember who it was historically. That would have prevented them from taking the lead and having the national record. 1 strike away. And I felt so bad for her. You could see it on Valerie's face, because even after she's trying to get these batters out, and she's, like we've talked about before, at times overused. And at the end of a long season, you think you're 1 strike away. The team hits a 3-run shot to tie it up. And I can imagine she probably didn't have a lot left in the tank. And then ultimately went to extra innings. A leadoff home run in the 9th sealed it. The Tigers could not score a run of their own in the bottom half of the 9th inning. And that was it. You just had to sit there in dismay, thinking you had a win. I thought we had a win. I went ahead halfway through the game, started making a graphic to post on Twitter. I'm not going to take credit for the loss, but that's where I was at. So not the way you wanted to end it, but regardless, it still was another historic season for this young program. A few of the numbers on the season: they finished 49-12, 18-6 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. McWhorter Stadium saw a lot of fans this year. I'm interested to see, once the season's over, the attendance records, both in the ACC and nationally. They did break an attendance record this year. The new attendance record is 2,116. I tried doing some digging. I feel like that was earlier in the season. I believe that might have been the ACC Big Ten tournament. I feel like they had to have had more people in there for the regional game, for at least one of the regional games than that, because they added in extra seating. It looked like way more people than I'd ever seen in there, but I might be wrong. This was the Tigers' 3rd consecutive NCAA tournament and 2nd consecutive as a regional host, as their 2nd consecutive super regional appearance. And then, as we've mentioned multiple times, Valerie Cagle named the 2023 USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year. So it ended in disappointing fashion, but nonetheless, it was a huge success of a season. We saw a lot of wins, a lot of runs scored, a lot of exciting moments in McWhorter Stadium this year. It's hard to believe that this season is done with for the Tigers already. It does not, like, here I am on what episode did I say this was, 17? It does not feel like, I think I missed the episode there at one point, so it does not feel like 18 weeks ago that we were previewing the first week of softball. It flew by quick. It was a fun one, though. But, again, the Tigers finished 49-12 on the year. Huge success of a season. All right, poll of the week. Remember, the only way you can get your voice heard, is by following us on Twitter at nachos_analysis, where each week I will pose a question. It's called Poll of the Week. Not really a poll this week, open-ended for our followers to answer. So this week's question was, what worries you or gives you confidence heading into the weekend as the Tigers host their first regional since 2018? There were plenty of worries, and there was a lot of confident people in our mentions with their responses here. So I'll start with a couple. Tigers Swordfish says, I have big confidence in our lineup. Blake Wright is a 3 to 5 hole hitter at most programs. Blackwell is leadoff at most programs. Infield is elite. Catching is elite. Outfield is well above average. Only concern is, how does the bullpen hold up if the Tigers have to play 5 games? As far as that worry, if you get end up in the loser's bracket or lose in the championship match and have to play that 5th game on Monday, that is a very reasonable concern, and I completely understand that. Gerald Johnson, friend of the show, or should I say the college football show, regardless, his concern is flashbacks from our last few appearances in regionals. Yes, Gerald, I try to forget those as well. Combine the loss to Oklahoma State, the 2 to Vanderbilt, and having to deal with listening to the Vandy Whistler. That's one positive out of the seeding here with the regionals. No Vanderbilt this year. So Tiger fans that are going to be at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, your ears are spared. Casey from the Slogo podcast gets in and says, I like the resolve of this lineup and the defense. If the pitching continues to hold up, we're going to have a great chance. Christian Mann says at some point the 2-out hitting has to come back to normal levels. Maybe it can hold out another month. I would love for it to hold out another month. Let's see. William Craig says his worries. Charlotte and Tennessee both have multiple wins over South Carolina. Tennessee swept Vandy. Lipscomb beat Arkansas. Anyone in this regional is good enough to win with their A game. His confidence is Tennessee only has 4 away wins all season, 2 of which came in Columbia. We beat Charlotte, and Tennessee blanked Lipscomb earlier in the year 10-0. All very true there. Seth Lamb, very short and to the point. He says confidence, Eric, period, Bakich, period. He hadn't given you any reason not to trust him this year so far, so agree there. Trevor Gerard says worries, Tennessee pitching and experience. Tennessee is very experienced, and they're a team full of a lot of dudes. Those dudes have not performed well together as a cohesive team this season when they've hit the road. Frankly, Howard says, what worries me is how long can we keep this level of consistency? It's been an incredible run, but we have to believe it can continue. I know the team does. The thing about baseball, you run into a pitcher who's having a crazy night and you're done. Cindy says she's worried about underestimating the opponent. I don't think that this team is underestimating its opponents. I think that Coach Bakich is level-headed. He helps keep them focused on one game at a time. This team is not thinking about Tennessee or Charlotte on Saturday. All they're thinking about is Lipscomb at 1 o'clock on Friday right now. Jeff Browder says, after losing 3 home regionals in a row from 2016 to 2018, I'm worried about Bakich. I'm worried, but Bakich gives me confidence. He is different, and so is his program. Clemson Addict says, what worries me is we have been so hot. How long can it last? BMAC says this team does not die. Chick Jacobs, no worries, none at all. We weren't supposed to be hosting. Heck, we weren't even supposed to be here. As Coach said, we're playing with house money. Enjoy the ride. Could not agree more. And then Clemson Central gets in and says, I've got no worries. We're here because we earned it. We just have to play our game like we have been. I don't disagree with really anything anybody said. All great concerns and things you're looking forward to and trust in this team. The teams that the Tigers got paired with are no slouches. We're going to get into that here in a minute when we do our baseball preview, but it's going to be a tough road to get out of this regional. And if the Tigers are going to win it, they're going to have to continue doing what they have been doing for the last month and a half, 2 months. So we'll see. Really looking forward to it. Before we discuss our ACC champion baseball team, we can't forget our sponsor, our loyal sponsor from the very beginning, and that's Pump Monkey Septic Service. Pump Monkey Septic Service is located in Clemson, and it's owned and operated by Clemson alumni Alan Powell, and he's servicing the upstate. He's not interested in traveling down to Charleston, traveling up to Hendersonville, Asheville, wherever. He is a local man through and through and wants to service the upstate. They've built quite a reputation. This is a relatively new company. And I'm already hearing from people that Pump Monkey has come in clutch for them when the big name brands that have been around for a long time give a quote to say, hey, we can't be there for a week or two, or no, we don't come out on the weekends. Pump Monkey is building a reputation that you can trust. And if you need to get in touch with them, because let's face it, you do need to get in touch with them, because this is the last service you want to be in a bind searching for when you need it. So to get in contact with them, area code 864-710-2211. You can call them, you can text them, both at that number, 864-710-2211. Find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. As you imagine, a septic company might have an interesting Instagram page, and Pump Monkey is no different. So check them out there. Give them a call, shoot them a text, do whatever you got to do, because when the dump's funky, call Pump Monkey. All right, Clemson baseball. As we said at the top, the Tigers are ACC champions yet again. Their win streak moves to 16 games. They are one game away from tying their streak that they ran back in 2006. The Tigers win their 16th ACC championship with the win, and the 11th ACC tournament title. It's first since 2016, Coach Monty Lee's first year as head coach. Coach Bakich, like we said at the top, just like Coach Lee and Coach Leggett, wins the ACC tournament in his first year as head coach for the Tigers. The way they accomplished that, they went 4-0 through the tournament. They played Virginia Tech, number 19 Boston College, North Carolina, and number 8 Miami. So to get this ACC title, they weren't playing slouches. All right, 2 ranked teams in their path to the ACC championship. They start everything off with Virginia Tech defeating them 14-5. Then beating number 19 Boston College 4-1. North Carolina, who you just saw a week prior and swept to wrap up the regular season, they defeat them 10-4. And then in the championship, Sunday afternoon, in the rain, Tigers defeat number 8 Miami 11-5. Now, there was a point in this game where Miami looked to have control, and the Clemson team was struggling to get hits. They were giving up runs. But one quality of this team that we've all seen on this 16-game win streak, they don't give up. I saw a number earlier today, and I meant to write it down. The amount of games that they have won from coming from behind. I can't remember the exact number. I can't remember where I saw it, but I believe it's more than 20. This team shows resolve. And one other thing, the weather. At one point, it didn't look like we were getting Saturday or Sunday's games in. And we were talking about possibly crowning the highest seed remaining an ACC champion without having to play the game. Which, if they could not have gotten the game in on Sunday, that would have been Clemson because of Wake Forest not making the championship round. But kudos to the grounds crew, the ACC as a whole, getting this thing logistically out there and putting out a great product. And they had to do some shifting. Saturday, had to play a game at North Carolina Stadium down the road. because the window of time that they found around 1 o'clock was about the only window they were going to have to be able to get these games in. So I don't like when it's in Durham. I much prefer when it's in Charlotte. But I have to do a big shout out to the staff there at the Durham Bulls Stadium and the ACC for making that all happen. It seemed to go pretty seamlessly. But great series, lots of excitement. Cam Canarella, Billy Amick, Caden Grice, Riley Bertram. This was a huge, huge weekend. And if you don't think this Tiger team is good after that weekend, I don't know what to tell you. You could argue that maybe, hey, there was some hesitations, some things that you were worried about. But the 4 wins that this team put together, winning in different ways, they're not just blowing everybody out. You have to like what you see out of them heading into the postseason. We got a preview of what the weekend rotation is going to look like this week with how they're going to handle pitching, because, as you know, Caden Grice is normally the Sunday guy, but especially for regionals, that game 2 is a huge game, especially if you win and you're in the winners bracket there. It's huge to get that second win. And so they're going to be pitching Grice on Saturday this weekend, just like they did last weekend. And I was kind of worried how he would perform Sunday in the ACC championship after pitching, because he usually pitches Sunday, doesn't have to play again until Tuesday. And he looked fine out there to me. So let's take a look at this Clemson regional. So the Tigers get the number 4 overall seed. Coming to town is Tennessee, Charlotte, and Lipscomb. We're going to look at those teams here in a minute. Do want to shout out Ryan Cantor with TigerNet and Shaking the Southland, having me on his YouTube channel this week. A lot of what I'm talking about now we previewed over on his YouTube channel. So be sure to give him a follow. Check out that video as well. It's really exciting right now. Since the Tigers won the Atlantic Coast Conference, we found out that they're a 4 national seed. I've seen more Clemson baseball content than I have maybe ever. And it's been nice. Like, I'm a Tiger Illustrated subscriber. You can very rarely find baseball content on there. There's a handful of guys that usually have a thread going, and then they'll have like an in-game thread. I'd say a third of the threads the last couple of days on Tiger Illustrated have been about baseball. TigerNet, tons of baseball content. Larry Williams at Tiger Illustrated, who focuses 99% of his time, as he self-admitted today on Tiger Illustrated on football, wrote a wonderful article about this team, about Coach Bakich. So I'm loving the baseball content. Appreciate Ryan for having me on over there. The more people are talking about Clemson baseball, the better. The more excitement, the better. And just with the talk and the buzz this week, I am ecstatic and very excited to get out to Doug Kingsmore Stadium this week. I think that the atmosphere we're going to be walking into this weekend will be one we have not seen in a long time. It's going to surpass the South Carolina series, I think, especially if the Tigers and Tennessee both win their games Friday, and then you have a 6 o'clock primetime slot on Saturday for the winners bracket. Looking forward to it. And from what I've gathered on social media and message boards, it seems like this is coming out Thursday. I'm recording on Wednesday, but as of Wednesday, it seems like all I'm seeing as far as tickets remaining for the weekend are standing room only. So you're going to have people literally everywhere in Doug Kingsmore Stadium this weekend. So It's going to be fun. This team has earned it. Did we expect them to be here, a 4 national seed hosting a regional? Absolutely not. I know I didn't. I posted a video on Twitter this week from our interview with Coach Bakich back in episode 1 of Ball Talk Podcast. He compared this team to his College World Series runner-up team in Michigan, said this is a more talented team than that team there. He said that this team is capable of winning championships, starting with the ACC. Well, he's done that already. And he thinks they're capable of making a run to Omaha. And it's something that they have been talking about all offseason in preparation. So he knew what he had. Now the fans are starting to catch on. So looking forward to this weekend. Who do the Tigers play this weekend? You got a 4-team regional here. Tigers, obviously the number 1 seed in the regional, number 4 overall nationally. The 2 seed will be Tennessee, 3 seed Charlotte, and 4 seed Lipscomb. Now the Tigers have seen Charlotte once this season, and look at my notes. I completely lost my place. Back on February 21st, Tigers defeated Charlotte 9-5. One little thing about that game was tied, I believe, in the 7th, 5-5. And they had a 4-run inning to make it 9-5 to win that game. That was the midweek game leading into the Wake Forest game, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at these teams in the RPI. Clemson, number 6 nationally in RPI. Tennessee, 20. Charlotte, 67. Lipscomb, 90. As far as strength of schedule goes, Clemson, number 6. Tennessee, 22. Charlotte, 48. And Lipscomb, with not a spectacular strength of schedule, coming in at 146. So how's this shake out? The Tigers, as a 1 seed, will face the 4 seed. Tennessee, the 2 seed, will face the 3 seed Charlotte. And the coaches, or the coach of the higher seeded team, or the host team, which in this case would be Clemson and Coach Eric Bakich, they're given the choice of what game on Friday they want. From a fan's perspective, I do not like the choice of the 1 o'clock game. I was going to take next Monday off from work, but it looks like now I'm taking Friday off from work. So, oh well. But I totally understand it from a team and a coaching standpoint. The quicker you get game 1 done, the quicker you can get off your feet and rest for tomorrow. And then it allows you to kick back and relax. And I mean, the view that Coach Bakich has in his office, he can literally sit inside in the nice AC and watch the game down below and scout Charlotte and Tennessee. So the Tigers did elect to take game 1. Game will be on ESPN Plus. And as of now, Coach Bakich was on Mickey Plyler's show this week on The Roar. He did say that Gordon was going to go Friday, and it looks like, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but Van Treek, the left-handed pitcher for Lipscomb, is going to go. Listen to this stat line right here. He has an 8-4 record, 3.5 ERA, 101 strikeouts to 13 walks. I'll say that again for you. 101 strikeouts to 13 walks. This guy's not going to be a pushover. This Clemson team is going to have to battle at the plate. Now, fortunately, this team is really good at battling at the plate. If you did not watch the ACC Championship against Miami, well, that might be a good thing. You didn't have to hear the announcer gush and ooh and ah over Miami's pitcher's changeup. He had to have talked about this guy's changeup for 50% of the broadcast. I heard the word changeup, and not just him saying, "Oh, that was a changeup right there," but just going and going and going on about this pitcher's changeup. He must have said it 100 times. But regardless, he was giving Tigers some trouble. But what the Tigers were doing was getting that pitch count up, fouling off balls, being smart at the plate. And I think that's what Tigers are going to have to do early the first time or two through the lineup. But should be a good matchup there, 1 o'clock. I have not checked the weather, but it will be nice. To know your fate early. Are you in the winner's bracket? Are you in the loser's bracket? And then kick back and watch and see who you have to face on Saturday. Charlotte and Tennessee will play after Clemson. They'll play at 6 o'clock. That game will be on ESPNU. One cool thing here, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. I want to say his last name is Lindsey. Pitcher for Charlotte is a former Tennessee player. Let me make sure I got that right and didn't mix those two things up. Yeah. So that'll be a cool little battle there. And then the winners and losers will face each other Saturday. So the way that'll shake out, losers bracket game will be at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Winners game will be at 6 o'clock Saturday. Same times on Sunday. That puts the championship being at 6 o'clock Sunday evening and Monday if necessary. This is not going to be an easy regional. But nothing is going to be easy here going forward. The goal is on the back of the hat, Omaha. To get to Omaha, you got to win 4 games this weekend, or 5, preferably 4. You got to win 2 next weekend. So can this team keep this momentum, this hot streak going for 6 more games? We'll find out. To do that, they'll have to have a super regional matchup with the winner of the Auburn regional. That is who this team's paired up with. Auburn, the 13 national seed. You could argue that they should not be where they are at. Seems to be they were the only team not considered when it came to RPI, but we won't get into conspiracy theories. However, Auburn is paired with a strong 2-seed Southern Miss, who, in reading up on this regional this week, it seems like a lot of the experts are picking Southern Miss to come out of this region, and many of them actually even picking them to advance to Omaha. Also in the region, Samford and Penn. So if the Tigers can handle business, they'll host one of those 4 teams next weekend at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. But you got to do something you have not successfully done the last 3 times you hosted. You have to win. This team's capable. It's hot. And it's not just a hot team. It's a talented team. This team's going to face some adversity this week. And if what we've seen with our eyes recently, this team can handle that adversity. So, should be an exciting weekend in Clemson, South Carolina. A lot of big-time baseball being played. I'm excited. I am probably going to stay for every single game. My wife will probably hate me for it, but I'm excited to sit out there and watch baseball all weekend long. So, big matchup. Hopefully, when we are talking this time next week, we're previewing a super regional. But if not, regardless, it's Go Tigers anyways. And join me next week, and we'll talk some ball. Peace.